welcome to Know Your Aura with Mystic Michaela, episode 12, Dreams, Astral Traveling, and Visitations is what we are talking about today. But first, let me introduce you to my husband, Scott.
Hey, guys. What was it? Astral traveling?
Astral, A-S-T-R-A-L.
Not Astro, like the Astros, the baseball team?
No,
Okay.
Astral.
I have no idea what Astral...
We're going to talk about it today.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So what did we do this weekend?
Well, we had an interesting weekend.
Did we?
Nah.
Really think
No,
about that, did
not
we?
really. Saturday, we just tried to get through the day and not, with the kids.
Yeah.
And then, so Sunday, we said we had to get out of the house.
Yeah. Well, it's
'cause-
not 4,000 degrees here anymore.
Right. We finally had a cool down, and it went to like 80.
Mm-hmm.
And we said, all right, Saturday was a bad day with the kids. They were just like bored out of their minds and giving us all this trouble. So on Sunday, we're like, we got to get out of the house. So I came up with one of my ideas, which are like, what would you call them?
This is like a family joke.
Yes.
Like, cause Scott, like, he'll just have like an idea. Like, he's very well. We've talked about it.
Right.
How like you're a red aura, and you always need to have the idea. Like, if something, like, we were all like, hey, let's go to the zoo.
Right.
But like the zoo just wasn't cutting it for you, and all of a sudden,
Because
like,
I didn't come up with it.
Right. And you like lift your head from your phone and you suggest
This place out in Okeechobee, Lake Okeechobee,
yes,
which is like the middle of nowhere.
it truly is.
Truly the middle of nowhere.
In
Um,
in Florida, we're in Florida. Yeah.
So we decided to go to this wildlife place. It's like a place for like injured animals.
Yeah, they rehab animals. We've never been there.
Right. And the thing is, like, when sometimes I'll just take a chance with these places.
Mhm.
Sometimes it works out, and sometimes it's a disaster.
It's a family joke.
Yeah. So give me an example, like, when I've actually came
Like, and
through.
we joke, we're like, does the Scott man come through? And then we had kids and became like, does the Dada man come through?
Yeah.
Like, it's a joke. And now the kids will even be like, yeah, Dada man, you come through. You didn't come through.
Right.
But like, no, the first time I think you came through was like when it was before children.
Okay.
And we were like road tripping through Virginia Beach or something.
Mhm.
And you're like, let's stop at this restaurant. And it looked all scary. And I'm
Right.
like, no. And you're like, no, we're doing it. I'm like, no, Scott. No, there's like a perfectly normal like Perkins here. Can we just
Right.
eat? You're like, no, we're going to this restaurant. We walk in and like nobody's there. And we go up to the hostess stand and she starts singing to us about like how many are in our party. And it was
Right.
a singing restaurant. And as she sings us to the table, I hear behind me, this is where the
This was
term has been coined from.
the origin of the term.
The origin of our family term. I hear behind me Scott go to me, sometimes the Scott man comes through. Like you're Batman or something.
I said that.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
like, sometimes the Scott man comes through.
Did I use a Batman voice?
Yes, you did. And I'm like, And like, but forever now, it's every time, like when you do something random.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Because it
and
always has to be your idea.
That's true. And actually, it's kind of weird because like people like now, like I've been noticing like when we go out with them, which
Yeah.
is very rare.
Mhm.
But they'll be like, "Oh, Scott, where do you want to go?"
Yes, this
And
has
I'll be
been good
like,
for you.
Yeah,
This is like Scott awareness.
yeah, that's pretty cool. But I remember the time we Alabama, like another one was Alabama. Like we lived in Buffalo, New York,
Mm-hmm.
and I decided, let's just take a family vacation. And we took your parents, and I was like, why don't we just go to Alabama? And everyone was like, what? What do you do in Alabama? There's nothing in Alabama. And I said, and the reason why, could you guess the reason why I wanted to go to Alabama?
No.
Well, it's just one of the states I didn't have a mug.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I dropped that.
you're a little-
Sorry.
yeah.
I dropped the ball there.
Did you have your coffee today?
I know.
Did you have your
I could
Wawa
use
today?
Another one.
Yeah. But anyway, so and I had no idea. The pictures looked great online. So I'm like, all right, let's just try this place. Had no idea what it was. Like 14-hour drive. We're driving. We're in the middle of nowhere, Alabama. There's absolutely nothing around. There was a Walmart. But there's absolutely nothing. And everyone's like freaking out. We had 2 cars full of people. Everybody's freaking out. And then, thank God, through like the brush or whatever you call it, all the woods, there was the resort. And it was like perfect, right?
Yeah.
So I came through there.
Yeah, you did. The Scott man came through.
I came through there.
Yeah.
Okay. Time I didn't come through, the Root River.
Oh my God. That was before children.
Yeah. I decided, all right, let's do a canoe trip.
Where was that?
That was in Minnesota.
Right.
Minnesota.
Yeah,
You get it? Minnesota.
I do.
Okay. So that was, we went canoeing, and, it was perfect, right? Nice day. We get the boats. Everything's ready to go. We're paddling down the river. And then all of a sudden, what happens?
We get attacked by horseflies. I'm going to post that picture because, like, that was before cell phone cameras. And I had my, what are those called? Those cameras that you would buy and you could throw them out. But, like, you'd get the film. You know, you'd do, what are those called? Instant cameras.
Yeah, disposables.
Yeah, the disposable instant camera. Well, like, this was before cell phone cameras. So,
Yeah.
like, the first picture, which I'll put online, it's like, we're like, yeah. Because, like, Scott's the happiest when he's, like, canoeing. He's so flippin' happy. And it was his idea, and it was working out, and he's got a red aura, and he's, like, looking all great. And then, like, we go to this part of the river, and there's horseflies, and it was, like, contaminated, and nobody told us. And we were, like, getting, like, I've never been, like, literally, it was, like, a shroud attacked us for miles of horseflies. Like, and thank God I had a hoodie, but you didn't. And I turned around, and I blindly took a picture of you being covered in horse flies, and I have that picture in an album, and I'm going to put it on my stories.
So we're like,
and that is when the Scott man did not come through.
Did not come through. That was like an hour
and we
of paddling.
I won't let it go.
Horsefly country.
Yeah, that's why. Like, I always get nervous.
Black flies. I think it was black
I thought
flies.
they were horse flies. I don't know. They bit. They
did.
They were big. They were like the size of dimes, and they bit. And
wow.
Man, and your face was like covered. And I remember we had like one bottle of like off spray between the two of us, and like we were just literally like almost spraying ourselves in the face with it. And so like we're done with this river, and oh my God, and the people that drove us down to get there were just like a little questionable.
Yeah, there was like
we could have been killed. They could have been serial killers.
They could.
We didn't have cell phones.
We should have known. There was 3 people that drove us down, and they had like 4 limbs, like combined.
There was something wrong. There was something in the water there, and it was horse flies.
Yeah.
And we're like driving, and we're like, is this like the hills have eyes? Like, are we gonna like, is this where like they come and kill us?
It was
like a horror flick, and that we're so lucky we're here. I'm just reflecting.
I mean, so these like weird adventures, like.
Well, you didn't come through there.
No, I didn't come through.
But this weekend,
I think this would be a come through.
Okay, so let's rewind it. We all wanted to do the zoo,
right?
And you're like,
no.
Yeah.
So I find this place, again, out in the middle of nowhere, Lake Okeechobee.
Yeah.
And we're driving, and we're out in the middle of nowhere, and of course the air tire pressure goes on.
Of course.
You know, we're low on air in the tire.
There's nowhere to get air.
And, you know, the sensible thing would be like, all right, turn around.
Yeah.
You know, go back. But
we're like,
no. No. And Abby's like, I want to see the animals. So I'm like, all right, let's just go. So we keep going. It worked out fine.
Right.
Just put a little air in. It was okay.
Okay.
So we get there. Back roads. There's nobody there. There's like one car. And we pull up, and there's tons of stray cats.
Oh, my God, which is heaven.
And the kids are loving it already.
The cats, like, there were like 12 cats just came at us, like, meowing. And then the place was great. Like, so it was like this animal rehab center, and like Abby like fell in love with a turkey, which was like an emotional support animal, we found out.
Yes, named Thomas.
Yeah, it was named Thomas, and it was an emotional support animal for a woman who couldn't walk, and she died, and then the place took the turkey. And so the turkey just like, and Abby, they were like hugging each other, and it was just so sweet. But there were all sorts of animals there.
Yes, and that, of course, is going to alter our Thanksgiving dinner this year.
We can't eat turkey anymore. We're done.
Turkey.
I can't. I didn't know they were smart, and they're like really kind, and they're emotional creatures.
So we're going to have like salmon?
I don't know. I can't.
Caterpillar?
I think it ruined Thanksgiving.
Okay. Grasshopper?
I don't know. I'll just go somewhere. I can't.
So we're there, and then, you know, they have, what was it, a big...
they Florida
Panther.
I mean, this
right
was
up close.
crazy.
Deers are licking our ears.
Yeah, they were like,
Deer.
They were just animals everywhere, all rehab. That like these people were doing their best, you know, trying to care for anything that got dropped off. They would care for it. But there was one cat that really bothered you.
Yeah.
We'll tell that.
Well, there was this one cat.
Yeah.
And he just, you know, I think he was young, male.
Yeah.
And he was just like pacing the cage.
What kind of? It was like, I forget what it was. A caracal. I don't know. Basically, it looked like a tiny leopard.
Yeah. Really cool looking cat.
Yeah, I should have remembered the name.
But they.
But it was stuck in it.
Yeah.
Well, it was a domestic cat.
Yeah.
Well, no,
not a domestic
wasn't.
Cat.
Sorry.
It was a wild cat that they tried to domesticate.
Somebody tried to keep that. They most of their pets. These stupid people would try to make them like house pets, and then it didn't work out because they're wild animals. So they can't let them out. So this cat had no claws, but it was fine in every other way. But it upset you.
Yeah, I don't know why.
So like on the ride home. Who's telling the story?
Well, I just want to say one other thing
Go ahead.
before we get on to the ride home.
Yeah.
The only thing, we had a personal tour guide.
Yes.
I forgot her name, but we had a personal tour guide. And the only weird thing I thought about the place,
Okay.
that, she kept on mentioning that all the animals like to throw feces at them.
Yeah, they were all, yeah.
That's weird.
I know. We didn't talk about this till just now, but
Yeah. Did you find that
well,
weird?
a lot of them were monkeys, and I think that's what they do.
Yeah, well, I got the monkeys, but then when she was talking about, like, the lizard throwing,
It did?
I think
The
so.
panther's not doing
The
that.
kangaroo, the wallaby,
The wallaroo.
the kookaburra. They're all everybody was throwing feces. Like every cage we went to, someone was talking about throwing. The lady was telling us that the animal threw feces at them and watch
Ew.
out.
I don't know. I didn't hear that part as much as you did.
The gray fox.
No, the fox wasn't throwing
it wasn't just the
poo.
monkeys. It just wasn't the
Oh,
monkeys.
no.
All right, let's get to the car ride.
All right. Well, anyway, so Scott was all affected by the cat. Like, all stuck in kind of this smaller cage or whatever. And then he's like, can you do it? And the kids were quiet. And he's like, can you do an aura reading on me? Because I never do it for him, ever.
Right. and I usually have to wait a year like everybody else.
Yeah, right. Okay. So it's true. I never do because I like live with you. So I don't like really even see it anymore. But like the thing is, so I really looked at you like if I didn't know you. And this is how it all ties in because people have been asking me about imbalanced auras and inauthentic colors and, and all that. And like I looked at you and you had like way too much red. Like you're red and blue, but your red was like really kind of muddy and it was really dark. And it was like really covering up other things. And
like covering up other colors?
It was covering up. It was kind of. It felt like it was on like a defense mode. So I had to look at you like I did if I didn't know you, which is the only thing I can, do when I'm reading you. So I had to like look at your color and start describing the color as I saw it. So I'm seeing this color on you, and it's red, and it's a murky kind of a murky red, not clear, and it's big, and it looks like it's defensive, and it felt like it was defensive kind of, and it was kind of like that cat, like kind of stuck in a cage like that, and wanted to get out but didn't know where to go, and I feel like that's why that kind of triggered you a little bit. And
well, yeah, because I didn't know why. It just but it did bother me. You're right.
And like the cat was fine, like the cat was being well cared for, and this is like the best place that cat could be because otherwise it would be dead. I mean, there's nowhere else for that cat to go.
Okay.
Unfortunately, so but it really did bother you.
Right.
And I feel like what it was because I was looking at the way that your color felt very angry, and your color, and not that you're angry, but your color felt angry, and
no, I mean I was in a good mood.
Yeah, but your color felt contained.
Yeah. And
what was happening was your ego was trying to come in and pull you back because in your life right now you're kind of walking off, and I think a lot of people, I see this with a lot of clients, like sometimes when you're about to walk off the map of what you were programmed to do, the ego is going to come in hard. And that's kind of like, it gets darkest before dawn. Like that saying, I see that with people's energies. I saw it with yours and I see it with other people's. Like where right before you're about to step off the page of what you were written to do, of what the narrative that's comfortable for you to do, it gets real tough and dark, and all your demons come up, and you can get real insecure because the ego's trying with all its might to pull you back into what is familiar to you. But the soul wants so bad to jump off that page and do what's unfamiliar to you, which is actually why you're here. And I just saw that struggle in your colors.
Wow. Now, what about, now you always say I'm a fuzzy blue too. Is that gone? Or was that there too?
Right. Well, yeah, you've been like erratically colored lately, and
boy.
I feel like that's a good thing because, and I'll see this sometimes like with people's colors. I'll be like, man, your color's bright, or it's bursting, or it's really popping, or I'll use colors like words like that, and people are like, what does that mean? And like, really, it's just when you're trying very hard with a lot of effort to be different. To really be different. But it's almost like when you're right there, when you're right at the edge of the line.
Yeah.
And someone's got you on a leash and it's completely taut and you have to just pull that extra bit and you have to get every ounce of you behind that last push. That's when it's hard. Like the spiritual journey when you have slack, that's not as hard as when you're at the very end and you got to break that rope.
I feel that.
And that's where you're at.
I think, I'm not biased or anything, but 100%
Yeah.
correct.
Of course you're not biased.
No, I'm not biased at all. No bias here.
No, but I get that with a lot of clients, and I'll be like, man, your color is really raging, and it's a little imbalanced, and they're like, oh, is it bad? And sometimes like with purple people, for example, like, man, your purple's high, like your purple's a lot, like there's a ton of, is that bad? It's like, it is and it isn't. Like, you need that right now. Like right now you might need that anger, like as a red, that anger to get that last getting it. Like with a purple, they might need that last, like, I don't give a crap to like get past. With the yellow, they might need that last bit of stubbornness they can muster to get through. Like, you have to use sometimes more of one color that you have to get you through like a moment.
Right.
And that's what I feel you're doing now.
So has it changed from the car ride?
No, you're still the same.
Still the same.
Even
though I'm podcasting now, I got my Alabama hat on.
Well, you're happy right now.
So
and that's the thing, like, you
there.
can be, but you yourself.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of us who have men in our life, this is like a guy thing. Like, you'll do this thing where you're not always you'll try to operate on kind of like a default mode, because, you don't want to be so emotional up and down. But like, if you were a chick right now, like, you might be more like feelings oriented.
Okay.
Which would be better for you. Like, I see you going to autopilot. You had to go to work today. You brought your vibe down so you could do it. It's like, let me go down to autopilot. Let me use like as little energy as possible to get through this.
And then bring it back up.
Then bring it back up. That's a lot of energy to do that.
Right.
To take it's like kind of when you're running and then you stop. It's like awful. Like, if you're running, you got to keep running. Like, you like, if you're running, you can't stop for a while and then pick back up.
Right.
Like, you have to keep it going.
Like, I need to keep
the momentum.
The momentum. Like,
Yeah, it's hard to stop pulling at that leash.
Yeah.
And then start again.
Yeah.
Because the momentum of pulling, it's like, that's what keeps it strong.
Right.
So when you're going through a tough time, it's almost like you do have to lean on one color a little bit. You just have to. And even though it's not always functional, and it's not, but it does break you through walls.
Right.
And then you got to check yourself after. So like, I see people like that, job changes or divorces or like situations, and they're like, yeah, I really had to lean on that. Like yellows, like I have this one person, she's yellow and she's going through a divorce, and she's like, very logical, and she's very together, and she's very doing all this, and the thing is, she's gonna have to be like that until it's over, and then she can deal with her feelings. Like, you have to kind of just be a survivor, and then after, you got to rebalance.
Okay. All right. I mean, it makes sense, and I really, ever since you told me that, since yesterday, 24 hours ago,
yes,
you told me it was muddy, and
Yeah.
I've taken 4 showers.
Oh,
I'm
hon.
trying to get the mud off.
Yeah.
But you can't do it that way.
Did you use the bod blade?
I did. I used the back blade, but not the bod blade.
Okay. All right. That's your problem.
Off week. It's off week.
Off week. I didn't know.
I switch them up. 1 week bod blade, 1 week back blade.
Oh my god.
Bod black. But what you're saying is no amount of showers will get rid of this.
No, that
muddy
is
red.
spiritual work.
That's spiritual. Okay. Because I really literally took it that I was muddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
And
So-
one of the ways that we do spiritual work is through paying attention to our dreams. So I'm going to talk about that
Okay.
next, Scott.
So we're talking about dreams.
Astral
Not
traveling.
astro.
Right.
Like the dog from the Jetsons.
Correct.
And
Visitations.
All right, let's hear about it.
Okay. All right, guys. So today I wanted to focus on dreams, astral traveling, and on visitations, because the number one, like, biggest spiritual tool I feel like we have when we're going through our own development are those things: your dreams, your astral traveling, and any visitations that you have. So I wanted to kind of go through, like, what's the difference? What do they mean? How can they help us? Okay, so what's a dream? So a dream is really, there are dreams, and there's just like you having a moment with yourself, basically. And paying attention to your dreams is really important, because there's a lot of like symbolism there. So your subconscious or your inner self is talking to you in symbols, and paying attention to it is really important. And I personally love my dream dictionary. The one that I have is Mary Summer Rain in Your Dreams, and it's the ultimate dream dictionary, and it's great. Like, she has like everything in there, and whenever I have a dream about something and something really stands out to me, I'll look it up in the dream dictionary. And what it does is, you got to kind of use your brain when you're dealing with dreams. You have to kind of like be a little metaphorical, like what does this mean, or what does that mean? And it'll help you a lot get to know yourself, because when you pay attention to your dreams, it gives you insight into the inner workings of your mind, and that's when your ego is less active. You got to remember, your ego's purpose is to keep you the same. Okay, your ego has a very noble purpose. It's to keep you completely the same and so that you never change and that you just keep repeating the patterns of your programming over and over again. But when you're in a dream state, you can get more honest with yourself. But a lot of times it'll show up as symbols and things like that. So it's good to pay attention to it. It's your hidden agendas, it's your pain, it's your needs, it's the things that you're hiding from yourself. And it's uncomfortable stuff. And sometimes, like, your mind will only rest, to protect you from these things in your dream state. So we do have some common dreams. Like, a lot of us have these dreams, like flying, for example. Like, there's two types of flying dreams, and I'll talk about this one. The one where you're falling, actually, not flying. So, like, if you ever had a dream when you're falling, that's a very common dream. They say it means, like, you're feeling out of control. Or if you ever have this dream where you're, like, in front of everyone and you're, like, in your underwear or you're naked or whatever, that's when you're, like, really scared of your insecurities. Okay, a lot of these are kind of, like, obvious. Teeth falling out, that's a big one. That's like you feel like you can't speak your truth. You feel like you're not allowed to say what you want to say. Being chased, this is a big one. I always have this dream where I'm being chased by bears, and it's, like, traumatic and it's awful. And when I look up bear, I want to read to you what bear means from my Mary Summer Rain Dream Dictionary. And it means characterizes an overbearing personality, relationship, or situation. Often points to the source of a dream or stress. And every time I have this dream, it's because I'm dealing with a certain person in my family, not Scott. And it's, like, so consistent, and it's, like, the most terrifying dream where I'm being chased by this bear and the bear is coming in and, like, the bear is, like, destroying my life, and it's really about boundaries and stuff. So you have to take these things and you have to make, like, how is this applicable to my life, and then, like, pinpoint, like, what you can do. It's just helpful information that dreams can give you with. But also, like, if you're being chased by a person, it can indicate trauma from your past, things that you haven't dealt with from your childhood. Death. All right, I get a lot like, oh my God, I had a dream my dad died. What does that mean? Usually that just means change. Just because you dream about death doesn't mean death is going to happen. Some people do have prolific dreams. I am not one of those people. I have symbolic dreams. But some people do have dreams and then the exact thing happens, but that's not a dream. That's something else, and we'll talk about that. Taking a test and you're unprepared, which I have that all the time. That's just like, you feel like you're failing or things are going to be taken away from you or. So a lot of these things that are common dreams, like, we all have them, and you just have to look at the details, and that's why I recommend just, being honest with yourself, getting a dream dictionary, and then doing some dream interpretations. If you ever want to learn about somebody and you kind of like to analyze, like, ask about their dreams, because it tells you so much about what's going on with them. Okay, so that's dreams, but the difference between a dream and, let's say, a visitation from a loved one, there is a difference there, okay? So in my line of work, obviously, I talk to a lot of people who have visitations from loved ones. And they're like, oh, was it just a dream because I missed them? Or was it a visitation? And here's the thing. In a dream, like, a person will just be playing a role. It's not emotional, okay? Like, it's just, all right, I saw this person in my dream, and then something weird happened, and then I moved on. It's more symbolic in your dreams. When you have a visitation, like, you feel like you were visited by somebody. It's very clear. It feels very real. It feels like you're with them. You can hear them. Sometimes you feel like you are touched by them, like they're hugging you. Physically, even, you can feel them, or even just with their energy, their love, you start feeling their feelings. In a visitation, you feel very self-aware, like it's more than a dream. Like, they're dead, but you're with them. Like, you have, like, an awareness of what's going on. Like, am I sleeping? Is this a visitation? Like, that's a visitation. You feel all the emotions at once. It's very emotional. And there's a lot of details in these dreams. Now, these details are very important. They want you to know what you saw for a reason. So, like, when you're having a visitation, like, you might be handed something, or you might see something, or something might be shown to you, or a name might be said. All these things are important. Visitations feel real. Dreams are just weird. Okay, so that's just the difference. I want to tell you a story about my parents' dog who died. I live here, and my parents had this dog, and he died a couple of years ago, but they got him when I was 21, so I knew him for, like, 9 years, and, he was my dog too. But I moved, and he died, when I was living here. But So his name was Ben. And after he died, like, I want to say like a week or so after he died, I had this dream. And I was in a room, and it felt like, I don't know, it was just like a blank room. And I saw him, and he ran to me. And I was so happy to see him. And, I got down on my knees. See, this is how real it was. And I hugged him, and I felt his fur, and I smelled his dog smell, and he was like breathing in my ear. And I put my arms around his neck, and I felt a wound on the back of his neck, and it was sticky. And it was sticky, and it was like this open sore. And I knew he wanted me to know that. And that was but he also wanted me to know he was okay. So that was the whole dream. And I had to say goodbye, and it was sad, but it was also made me feel good. So I called my dad up, because my dad and Ben were best friends, and my dad was very upset about losing Ben. And, Ben was old, and he had a good life, but, it was sad. It's always sad. And so I called my dad the next day, and I said, listen, oh my God, I told him about the dream, and I said, like, I wasn't there when he died. Like, they live in New York, they live in Buffalo, and I live here in Florida. And I'm like, but I felt this wound on his neck. And my dad's like, oh my God, like, you didn't know this, but he had like this open sore just on the back of his neck. He was old, and like things were going on with him. And that was like the least of our worries, but we were trying to put antibiotics and stuff on it all the time. But he had this open sore on his neck. I didn't know about that. So me telling my dad that gave him some sort of comfort, like this was real. And me too, So that's what I mean about details. Like, it's important. And I hear so many of you tell me these stories. And when most of you are like, I know that was a visitation, but some of you doubt it. And the thing is like with all these things, with anything, don't doubt it. Just risk being the fool, risk taking a chance, risk being naive, believe it. Because when you do that, more can happen for you. So also, like with these things, you'll get another sign the day after, like a secondary sign. So like like let's say grandma, have a dream with her, and then all of a sudden, like the next day, like you hear somebody else mention her, or you see a sign, or like something pops up, like you see something from her pop up in your way or whatever. So you might smell them. You'll always get like a secondary reminder from them. So be open to that too. That's how you also know it's a visitation. So, like I said, visitations, our loved ones, they visit you, they feel real, and they have major powerful impact on emotions the next day and even many days after. And you can feel good, but sometimes you can feel really sad, and it can feel really stressful. I just had a party last weekend, and the very last reading of the party, the woman who hosted it, she told me, she's like, I had a dream about you, and you were coming to do the reading for us. And then I went into the room to do the reading with you, but my grandmother was there, and her grandmother had passed. And she said, but it was awful. It was a terrible, terrible dream. It was awful. I said, well, what happened in the dream with your grandmother? And we're sitting there. This is the reading. And she said, my grandmother was, and she was very upset. She didn't want to talk about it, but she said her grandmother looked like she was being tortured, and she looked very hurt and upset. And it upset this young woman talking about her grandmother and this dream she had. And I said, and immediately I got this message from the grandmother that said, this was a visitation from her, but the trauma you saw her body going through was left over from the trauma you saw her suffer towards the end of her life. So what was happening was this lady was putting on her own trauma over her grandmother's memory. And thus it was impacting the way the grandmother could come through to her. The grandma wanted to come through with love and memory and remembrance, and I'm okay. But this young woman, she just remembered the sadness and the torture and just the illness at the end that ravaged her body. And she was traumatized. As I said this to her, the woman's face looked shocked. She's like, oh my God. And I'm like, what? And she was like blinking. She's like, she's like, something just hit me. I just got hit in the head. And I'm like, oh my God, like she got hit while I was telling her this. And it was her grandma kind of being like, hey, hey, wake up. Not like a nasty hit, kind of like, in some families they hit you out of love like that, like, hey, like that. And it was like, okay, your grandma wants you to know that that's your trauma that you saw on her, but she's okay. So release that. I hope that makes sense. But sometimes our own trauma can impact how we visit with our loved ones. they want us to remember them with love and happiness and memory. And you can be sad too, but the trauma can sometimes get in the way. Phones. I just want to talk about with visitations with phones. If there's phones, and I get this all the time. Phones, getting a phone call in like a visitation or a dream, let's say. Getting a phone call, a text, a voicemail, an email from a dead loved one in a dream. And you'll be like, "Oh my God, like grandma?" Like you're picking up the phone like, "Dad, like what?" And that symbolizes the distance in the connection. That symbolizes the two planes. So if you're getting phone calls from a dead person in a dream, that's a big thing. That's real. That's another symbol of a visitation. It's a very powerful dream symbol, and it shows the divide between our world and theirs, our world and the other side. The value of the connection, like, was it a fuzzy phone call? Do they sound far away? Can you read the email? Like things like that. Or is it very clear? Shows you how open you are to receiving their messages. So paying attention to that kind of stuff too. And I'm so into hearing your stories about this because it's I feel like when you hear other people's stories, it can kind of like be a little catalyst for your own visitations to happen. It opens your mind up a little bit. So that is a visitation. Now, let's go to astral traveling. Okay. So, one of the most powerful things you can do in your spiritual development is astral travel or astral project. So, here's the thing. You have a physical body and you have an astral body, but the astral body can leave and it can travel. If you ever heard of out-of-body experience, okay, that's like astral traveling. It's not dangerous. But when you first start doing it, or if it ever happens to you, it can feel very stressful. And the thing is, you can slam back into your body once you get scared. So that will be like you waking up with a start. You'll get like really sweaty. It's like restless sleep. You get really thirsty. You wake up in like a panic, like all of a sudden. Those are actually signs of astral travel. It's very stressful when you're astral traveling. But once you kind of understand that's what you're doing, it's not as stressful because there's no danger in it. But it is something that takes a lot of energy. So they say like 5 to 10% of, people reported having an out-of-body experience. But I honestly feel like it's more if you understand what astral traveling is. Because that's just like people who have said that like when they've died for a minute or they've been really ill, they've had like an out-of-body experience and they've hovered above the room and they've seen people and there's no way they would have known that they were unconscious. So there's that, but then there's astral traveling where you can do that in your sleep. Some people can do it when they meditate, So anyway, so here's the thing. Yes. For all the green and red people, there are logical reasons for these things. Like, I understand there's like sleep cycles and this can all be explained. Like, oh, if you're waking up at a certain cycle or whatever, and there's something called sleep paralysis, like whenever you wake up and you can't move or you feel like you're screaming and you're stuck or things like that. Like, I understand that. Like, there are scientific reasons that our brains, it can be explained why we're going through things like this. But while accepting the scientific reasons, also accept the spiritual reasons. Why can't there be both? Why can't there be two things happening? I'm open to that, understanding both those things. But out-of-body experiences can also include like remote viewing. So like sometimes when I do a reading, I can see, like, for example, like sometimes if I try to find like a missing cat or dog or something, I'll start trying to see out of their eyes. So that's like remote viewing. That's like part of it. So that's why I never know where they are because I'm not like I'm bad with directions in my actual life. So I kind of suck at it with my readings too. But I can tell what they're seeing. Like, okay, I see a street. I see like a bench. I see like under a porch. Like I can see things because that's remote viewing. So that's part of it. Vision quests. If you ever heard in certain cultures, they go on vision quests. Certain practices, try to make you leave your body and have, I guess, interactions with other beings or whatever. Near-death experiences, of course. And there's just like a lot cross-cultural descriptions of what we're talking about, astral traveling or out-of-body experiences. flying dreams where you're flying, but you're not losing control. So flying dreams, because like when you're in your astral body, like you're not walking, you're like moving around. So I hear people all the time tell me they visit their kids in college, or they see things, or they go to the past or whatever. You have to kind of go with the theory that there's no such thing as space. Like we're stuck in our human body because we're humans, but it's not like that's not how it is once you die. Like your actual natural form is one of more movement. Lucid dreaming is something where you stay awake while you fall asleep. So I guess you can practice this. I feel like if you're a mom, like that's what you do anyways. Like you nap, but you're still paying attention. That's hard. That's hard. So the easiest way to do it is to pay attention to your astral traveling, which will always feel like I said, like you'll wake up sweaty, thirsty with a start. And it's a spiritual tool. So they'll take you to an astral plane. So this is where your guides can work with you more easily. And you can be connected with others as well. I talked about this in the Twin Flame episode. Like you will have meetings with, if you have a twin flame, you will have meetings with them, or even just like exes or people that you haven't seen in a long time, like for closure purposes, to just kind of close up loose ends or just have a visit with somebody. You can have conversations with loved ones who are alive, but these are conversations that would be too uncomfortable to have in actual life. Things that would be brushed under the carpet in your family situation. Because what's happening is your higher self, your astral body, the part of you that's closer to your soul identity, can go talk to their higher selves. So you can have more honest interactions with them. The thing is, they're not always going to remember. But again, asking for secondary signs is a good thing. Like if you're having a dream of somebody and you felt like it was real and you were astral traveling with them, like ask for a secondary sign and see what happens. See what they say. See if they all of a sudden call you or something comes up between the two of you, or they just, reach out to you. They might not remember, but sometimes they do. I do have like experiences where my clients, because like, I have all these email readings and I'm catching up on them, and sometimes I don't get to everybody right away, and people will say that I came. This was funny because somebody told me that I came to them and said, "Hey, I'm getting to your email reading. Don't worry about it." Like my clients will tell me I go visit them, which I'm like really happy about actually. So the astral plane is where we can all meet. And the first time I was aware of my own astral traveling was actually really stressful. I felt woken with a start. I heard them talking about me, like in the third person, like, oh, I heard my guides talking about me. Okay, well, she's getting back in her body now. And I was like, what the hell was that? Like, it was really stressful. But once I kind of gave into it, it's helped me a lot. And now I wake up and I'm like, oh, I astral traveled about this or that. I know when people are up to things. Like I know when there's negative energy. I know all sorts of things now because on the astral plane, like it will be revealed to me if it's important for me to know these things. And like Scott, who's back here. Hey, Scott.
Hey.
He's used to me saying like, oh my God, I astral traveled and like this is going on. And like what, like I'm usually right? Like if I know somebody's like, somebody's going to reach out or like.
All the time.
Yeah, or I'm like, somebody's like negatively thinking about me and then all of a sudden I get like an awareness of it.
Yeah.
But you can all do this too. This is like something we all.
I don't. Everybody.
You know what's funny?
I mean, I can't.
Somebody said like we both came to them.
No.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't think Scott would.
I am not.
So I don't recall
ever.
We don't astral travel together.
No. Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, first of all, I have so many questions. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. But I mean, now that I've taken over your scheduling,
yes,
literally so many emails. Maybe even, I'm going to go ahead and say at least an email a day,
right?
Where someone in their they wrote about how they met you in a dream, or I don't know, whatever you call it, the astral travel.
Yeah.
And you said this to them and that to them.
Yeah.
I see that every day now.
I know,
so,
right?
Like now I'm starting to kind of believe it.
I believe it because like I don't sleep. Like I sleep horribly.
I know.
And that's just life, I guess. But like I'm glad I'm going to these. I'm glad I'm going to people and saying like, hey, like your email reading's coming, because like I don't like, because that's my own thing. Like I don't like people like leaving them in the lurch.
Oh, and a lot of the messages say that you bring wine with you.
Oh, really? Yeah, and I get that too. Like, well, a lot of people say that like we've had wine together.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people say like they don't remember what I've said, but it made them feel better. So that's good.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of like
Now,
just feel good stuff.
now in the past, I'll
I
be
hope-
honest,
Yeah.
I have come up with some ideas because I'm the red idea guy.
Okay.
So one of my ideas was go back to the year 1999
Right.
and tell Scotty of that time to buy Amazon.com stock.
And
No, is that something that can be done?
You just don't know why I can't do that.
Right.
You can time travel when you astral travel though, but it's a different plane.
Okay.
It's more like remote viewing because, man, I sound crazy. Because once I went back to 1993
Right.
and I swear to God, Scott, am I like, I'm not certifiable, right? Like,
Were,
I
were
act
you, were you with
normal.
Doc Brown?
So, no, I wasn't. I was
Okay.
by myself.
Okay.
And I was in 1993 and I was like, oh my God, I got to find, and I'm like, okay, where was he in 1993? I'm like, okay, he's in Merrick, Long Island. So I was trying desperately to find your phone number.
Right. We didn't have cells
So
then.
I went
Home
into
number.
a phone booth and like I'm
Yeah.
floating and I couldn't, and I found a phone book because I used to be in phone booths and I couldn't flip through the pages and I couldn't read any numbers.
Right.
And it's funny, I was like, why can't I read? It was so frustrating. Like I couldn't read anything. So when I woke up from that astral travel, and I was trying to find you so I could like tell you, because you're always telling me to tell you stock stuff. So I was gonna
Right.
try to tell you anything I could, but I
Right.
couldn't find you. But anyways,
Okay.
when I woke from that, I was like, why couldn't I read? That was so frustrating. And then I Googled it, and they're like, you can't read when you're astral traveling because like you don't have eyes. Like
Right.
it's like your physical eyes aren't there. Like
Yeah.
your other self. And I was like,
Right.
it makes sense.
Okay. Now, that was one of my plans. My other thing was, why not just astral travel to, let's say, the executive producer of The Ellen Show and
Right.
tell them to have you on
Have me on.
and promote our podcast?
Promote. Know
Would-
your aura.
Or let's say, Kim Kardashian,
Right.
and then she can promote us on Instagram.
All right.
Would that work?
I don't know. I don't know if you have to have a connection with somebody to like hang out with them or not.
Okay.
Because I
Like-
think like I've only done this with people I've had connections with
So meaning you've had to have met them?
or had shared space with them, like even spiritually or in
Okay.
a reading or just even like even people who've just like we've just made the initial like appointment or something like that. Like I've had
Right.
to share space with them and made an agreement for me to like have an astral travel experience with I think that's anybody. You have to have like some sort
Some-
of connection.
Okay. So what if, like, you did like a meet and greet with Kim Kardashian, paid like $800?
This is what you think of.
Yeah, my mind's always thinking
Right. And
maybe
I,
that would work.
I don't know.
Or
I think
Oprah or
I think
whatever.
that's crazy.
Okay.
People talk.
All
and
right,
we're-
all right.
And every once in a while we sound like stalkers, and we're starting to sound like that again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I know that people definitely visit you because I've seen the emails.
Yes.
I also know that, and sometimes this being red drives me a little batty.
Yeah.
That like sometimes you'll get angry at somebody, because that they've been talking negatively about
yeah,
you.
that's happened.
And I'll be like, no, of course not.
Right.
Come on, why would they even care?
Yeah.
And then it'll come out later
It's
that they were.
confirmed
It
to
gets
me.
confirmed.
Yeah, and this happened to me recently,
Yeah.
without names or anything, but it was totally confirmed. And you know what? And I think this is part of my like recovering empath. Okay, back if you haven't listened to that episode, go listen to it because as a recovering empath, I have to watch going back into the victimization state because like I am, I'm not perfect, but my intention is to heal and give people opportunity and love and all sorts of things, and I really try. So when somebody takes it the wrong way because of their own limitations and they go and try to like diminish me, like it really bothers me, but it was
Right.
confirmed.
Right.
So you're like, are you paranoid, Megan? Like that
Right.
you think people are talking about you? I'm like, I really don't feel like I am because I had this very upsetting astral travel where I was shown and then it was confirmed. But this is luckily,
Yeah.
honestly, that's just a handful of times that it's happened
No,
negatively.
I know.
And
I mean,
like more than anything else positively.
yeah. No, and then you go, and it also goes the other way when people are positively
Oh,
talking about
yes.
you, and then all of a sudden we get this great offer,
Yes.
or this person reaches out to us out of the blue, and we're like, oh my god, that's fantastic.
yeah. But
So
it's-
it works both ways.
Yeah, and it's interesting with the astral traveling. Like, out of all the tools that you could like have to promote your spiritual development, I really feel like paying attention to the astral traveling and the dreams. It's just really valuable. But like, I need to talk about the time that I had.
Oh boy.
So we have this distance Reiki girl, and she's in.
Okay.
Where is she from? Norway? Is that Norway?
It's Norway. Yeah,
Norway. Yeah.
Norway.
She's lovely, and her name's Beeth, and she did this a long time ago. Like you were driving me insane because your energy was all messed up.
Right.
And I'm like, she's doing a distance healing on you. Just go with it.
Okay.
So she came back with the story that, like, you know, all these things, and it was actually, she's lovely, and it was like a really good healing for you. But then she said the funniest thing ever, that your higher self looked at her, and then when you were like, she asked your higher self, like, what do you want? And you just like turned around and walked into the woods. You just wanted to be left alone. And I'm like, that is so you.
Oh my God. Hopefully it wasn't the Root River.
I'm putting up those pictures.
So my higher self just wants to be left alone.
Yeah, you just want to be left alone.
Well, maybe, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, I don't know if this has anything to do with anything, but I don't remember my dreams ever.
You never do.
Never do, except for the one time I dreamt about Michael Strahan. And Jessica's going to be all over that. And that's it. I mean, that was like the last dream I had. My last dream I had that I can remember was about Michael Strahan from the football player.
That's sexy.
Yeah, whatever.
He's in Magic Mike. Was he in a gold Speedo?
No, I think he was in a suit.
Okay.
He was in a suit.
He was in a suit.
But you know, something like he wasn't making it into work or something.
Okay.
And then he wasn't on GMA the next day.
Weird.
And that's the only dream
But
I've had.
he was on GMA that day.
The next day.
He was. No, but did he miss the day?
He missed the day.
Oh, so you were right.
Yeah.
But you had it like when we were house hunting down here.
Yeah.
You had all these weird dreams, like because he never dreams.
Never.
But you had these dreams like that whole week, and everything, like anything you had, like it symbolically happened in the house.
Yeah.
And it like every house that was a no-go, like you knew, like you had some weird prophetic dream the night before how it was a no-go, and like symbolically it was weird.
That's weird because I'll tell you, 11 o'clock comes, you turn off the light. I'm sleeping at 11:01.
Yeah.
I'm out and
You're
I don't
out
wake
like
up
trout.
to the morning. God knows what happens all night long, and I don't dream, and I don't astral travel to anybody.
You do though.
Mm.
The woods.
The woods. But you're just going all night long. You know, visiting people.
Well, you said I have a secret life at night.
You must have like a sleigh like Santa,
Like
or a magic carpet like Aladdin, because you got to get to all these people.
I think I'm having a good time lately. Yeah. I think it's been fun.
Yeah.
I think I'm partying.
I remember like you and Jamie from Light FM.
Oh my gosh.
Would have these crazy.
We did. Yes.
We should have had her on here.
We should have. Oh my gosh.
To talk about this.
That's a good guest idea.
Yeah, Jamie. 106.7 Light FM.
Yeah, we're gonna, because she does it too. She gets it. Oh
that would be a cool interview.
That's a great interview.
Yeah.
Good idea, Scott.
Yeah. Spotlight on a client, maybe.
Yes. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Or after the reading. Which, by the way, I have
today.
coming up. I have an after the reading segment.
All right. Who do we have?
We have Kate Appling, and she's a client I've read a couple times, and she's going to talk about her life after the reading.
Fantastic. All right.
So let's give it a listen.
Let's listen.
All right, guys, here I am with the segment after the reading, and I'm here with my lovely client, Kate. Say hi, Kate.
Hi, everybody.
Kate, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I am an attorney, and I have a 4-year-old and a 7-month-old, and my husband's also an attorney. I am yellow indigo. I've learned from my readings with Mystic Michaela. And my husband is a green.
Oh, he's a green.
So,
yeah, we'll have to talk about that too.
Yeah.
What? It's always fun talking about the greens in our lives.
I know.
Right?
So much fun there.
Okay, so like before you got the reading, can you just tell me like what was going on? Because I just want to I think like the purpose for this is my second after the reading segment, and I'm like, okay, I want people to see like what difference before knowing yourself a little better and after, like what that looks like.
So before my first reading, at the time I had my first reading, I was like very early in my pregnancy with my son. So we were very excited, kind of processing that big change. My husband was having a lot of changes going on at his job that we were trying to navigate. And that was kind of a big thing that was going on with us at the time of my first reading. And we talked about that a lot.
Like as an indigo, like when you learned like what being an indigo was about, like how did that make you understand like when, I guess, like when your husband's going through something, you know what I mean? Like, how did that like make you
Right.
understand how, explain that if you don't mind.
Well, when I learned that I was an indigo, it really put how I was processing those challenges that pertain to him.
Yeah.
It put it in perspective as I realized how much I was absorbing of that. So I kind of was able to look at it and see like, wow, I've really taken on this stress as my own.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that I was doing that until I had my reading and was like, wow, how can I step back from this? How can I have appropriate boundaries so that I'm not taking on all of this stress as my own and can be more helpful and supportive.
Right.
But it also made me look at other situations, you know, in my life and all my interactions where it was like, I could look back and be like, wow, you know, I reacted that was so heavy for me because I didn't realize I was absorbing all of this and didn't know to put those boundaries in place, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Yeah, because that's what happens. Like, you see it, and then you're like, oh my God, this has been my whole life. You're like, whoa, this is like everybody.
Right.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because you're yellow too, and you're an attorney.
Yeah.
So yeah. So like,
Right.
which is hard. Like,
so it was like a perfect storm. It was like I wanted to find a solution. Let's plan this out. How can we do this? Okay, this is what we need to do. I'm ready. Like, sky's the limit. Anything goes. Nothing is off limits. And I was very stressed about it as an indigo. And for him as a green, it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That is a lot. It's very overwhelming for him.
Right.
And I had to kind of figure out how to communicate best with him as a green.
Yes. Yeah.
And, you know.
How has he been? Like, as you understood yourself more, how has he understood this himself? Like, how has he supported you in your spiritual growth? Because he is a supporting guy. Like, I had to remind myself, so I like opened up your pictures again, and I'm like, ah, yeah, like I remember him. Yeah.
He is so supportive, and he's very, like, he will listen to me go on and on about, you know, auras and crystals and all this stuff that I love. And I know that it's not necessarily resonating with him, but he's open to it. So I've kind of learned that I have to, if I want him to receive this information, I have to give it to him in a way that is logical and reasonable and straightforward. Like in my second reading where you recommended the book, The Game of Life and How to Play It for him, I ordered that the same day, gave it to him, and he loved it.
Right.
And
people
he told
love
me he was like, I use these, you know, the things I'm learning from the book in my day-to-day life, and this is very helpful. And I'm now, you know, he said, I'm trying to, you know, I focus on the positive outcome that I want and how to get there instead of the negative. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what I've been trying to tell you.
Yeah, it's such a
for so
logical
long,
book.
but-
Like, it's just so straightforward, that book. It's like very plainly written. That's why I think like
Right.
green people can handle it, because it's
He
like,
loves it.
yeah, it's so good. It's like weird because it was written in the 1920s. So you're like, okay, but like, and everybody goes to a
Right.
distant land, like when you're done with them, and they disappeared to a distant
Yeah.
land, and like it's like this, right? But like, yeah,
And it totally resonates with him. He loves it.
it's awesome. All right, that's
So,
really
yeah, that was like great.
How does like the indigo yellow thing, like, so you're a lawyer and you're a mom. How does that mush together? Because like it's hard, because like as a yellow, you need your identity, you know, but like as an indigo,
Right.
you can feel like if you're not doing something 100%, you fail, you know.
Right.
So like, and
Yeah.
as a yellow, you're a perfectionist. So like, how does that all? How do you work and how do you mom? How does that work together with your auras?
So, well, for me, the key was finding a job that would allow me to feel like I was doing both. So I was very fortunate enough to find a job that allows me to work. You know, I'm off work at 3:30. I can work from home if I need to. It's very flexible. And so I feel like I'm doing both. I have that time at work where I'm doing what I love to do as far as a career,
Yeah.
but also, you know, I can pick my kids up from school. I can take them in the morning. I can stay home with them if they're sick. I can go to their, you know, parties at school and things like that and feel present in both spaces. So that's really been the key for me.
And did that change? Because is that a new job since we talked or something? Because it feels like it changed. Okay.
So, right. So at my last reading, we talked about, I had just accepted the position, and I was kind of nervous because I wanted to make sure, it wasn't a step back. I wanted to make sure I wasn't, I was making the right choice. And we kind of talked about that, and it's turned out to be,
that's great.
A great step, exactly what I needed at this time, because I was really feeling like I was kind of drained at work. It was not what I loved doing. And at the same time, I wasn't right. Yeah. And I wasn't getting that time with my kids as much as I wanted to. So it's been really just the perfect balance, I think, for me at this time.
That's really, and I think that's encouraging for people to hear, because being stuck is such a real feeling that people get. And looking around and feeling like, and logically, like, yeah, I am stuck. I have to pay bills, and this is my career, and I went to school already, so what you did was you took what you had, and you got more, and then you reevaluated, what are my motivations? Like, okay, my motivations, balance, and more freedom. So at least you have those things right now, as you could, and also I think people understand too, life's a journey. You're not stuck anywhere. Because I think even before we started the call, we were talking about being in the mom zone,
Yeah. Yes. And I had kind of I had been telling myself, okay, because it's always, we've talked about this, it's always been my goal to work for myself and help small businesses with their
talk about that.
legal, with their contracts and stuff like that. And I set up a business a couple of years ago doing that, doing one-on-one legal consulting, doing contracts for small businesses, which I love.
I love that.
And when I listened to your Recovering Empath episode, and you said that indigos love that one-on-one helping people, that is 100%. I love that.
Aww.
But what I had been telling myself for so long was that, okay, you stay in this job that you don't like until you can, go out on your own full time. And it was one or the other. And I finally, after I had my son and went back after maternity leave, I was like, right now the short-term goal needs to be flexibility. I need to allow myself to be open to something else. It's not just one of these two.
Right.
And this opportunity where I'm working now came along, and it was the perfect thing for that time. So it was just allowing myself to not be so, the yellow in me is one or the other.
Right.
I can do this after I do this. And I needed to be open to something else for what I needed at that time.
Yeah, because your ego was hijacking it. It was like, okay, this is, I have to stay the same or else I won't survive. And you just made space.
Right.
Hey, wait a second, there can be a gray area. I can do other things can happen that I haven't even thought of. So you made room for that.
Yes.
That's cool. And then you do help people. That's right. You help people with their small contracts for little businesses, who might not want to go and do the whole sit down with the big scary firm thing like you.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. And I love doing that.
Yeah.
And I love supporting small business owners and having that one-on-one relationship where they can come to me and talk to me about things like that and not feel intimidated. And I can help them and support them and help them be successful. I love that.
Well, Kate, thank you so much for taking the time to tell us what happened after the reading. I really appreciate you. I always love talking to you. And
me too.
Are you done with babies? That's my last random thing that I just got.
Oh my God. So it depends on if you ask me, no. Yeah. If you ask Josh, he needs to talk about it at another time. He is not ready to discuss that yet. That's so funny that you said that. We were talking about that this morning, actually.
Funny.
He's like, I'm just not in that place yet. And I'm like, okay, well,
yeah, well,
so we have to revisit it.
You are a yellow, so you do have a tendency to kind of wear people down in a good way. So I think,
yeah, I think he knows that later. After he has some time to settle down a little bit with the two that he's still getting into that routine with, the 4-year-old and the 7-month-old, then he'll be maybe open to hearing it a little bit.
It was crazy because
I play the long game. I can do this.
Yeah, long game. I love that.
he will give in eventually.
Yeah, because they're like, baby. Like, that's before, they wouldn't let me hang up till they were like, tell her about the baby. So I really feel like you're going to have another one.
So funny. Oh my gosh. I love it. That is so funny. Yeah, we've been going, I have not dropped it. After Jack was born, I was like, I don't think we're done. And he was like, oh my God.
He's like, stop it. Stop it, Yellow. He's scared of your manifestation abilities. He
Yes.
knows they're real.
I know. He's like, I cannot receive this information right now.
He's like,
I
this
need
is
a
too
break.
much.
I know. But like I said, I play the long game.
Yeah.
I'm very patient.
That's a Yellow quality.
So.
Thank you so much, Kate. I really appreciate you.
No problem. Thank you.
You take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that with After the Reading. I love following up with my clients and just seeing how their life changes. It really inspires me.
Great story.
She's a really cool girl,
and let's bring that back. This is weird. Remember, because we were just talking about all the astral travel and all that stuff, and thinking about things. We were looking for someone. You talked to me in the morning, like, who should we get for After the Reading?
Yeah.
Who's someone? And literally, the minute after I said it, she contacted you.
She emailed me about something in her life that was going well after the reading, and I was like, oh my God, that's so crazy, because I was trying to figure out like who would be good, and she popped in my head, and then she popped on my email at the same time.
Yeah,
it was weird.
Within like a minute.
Yeah.
Less than a minute.
Yeah, but that happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
But I want to dedicate this episode to those of you who feel a need to reach out for help. I had an anonymous donor, and she wanted to give an episode in dedication to those who are really needing a push out of an abusive relationship. This is something that was important to her, and she wants you, if you are on an edge of should I or shouldn't I, and you feel stuck and you're in a relationship that's not healthy for you, she wants you to get that courage together and get out of it. And there is the National Domestic Violence Hotline, and they will help you. They will help you with a plan. They will help you organize yourself. They will talk to you 24/7, 1-800-799-7233. And she's just a loving soul who wanted this to touch anybody who it could possibly touch, who needed that message of love and self-love and protection. And I want to thank you all for listening today. As you know, this podcast is for you and about you, and I want to spread that love, and I want you to feel safe to share with me any of your stories on the Mystic Michaela Spiritual Family, or even if you want a private DM, I try to get to them as much as possible. But on our closed Facebook group, Mystic Michaela Spiritual Family, it's a good place to share and grow and feel safe with one another while we grow as human and spiritual beings on this planet. And I really appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye-bye.